This conference will now be recorded.
All right. And let me kill that. All right. Well, all right, cool. Chris is on here.
What's up?
How you doing?
What about you?
Just doing my thing, man. There's some feedback on there from someone. I'm not sure. Yeah, that might have been Chris.
It sounded like a lawnmower.
Yeah, it did.
I got my 3D printer running, but it's pretty quiet.
Yeah. Man, you know that CR10 V2 I have has those the stealth chop or whatever on those drivers.
Yeah.
And it makes such a difference. It is so quiet compared to that other CR10 that I had. I mean, so much quieter.
Oh yeah. My wife hates my Inger threes, and I'm ready to throw them in the trash anyway. But this other one that I got is quiet.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll get going. If you guys would just keep your mic muted unless you want to jump in, but feel free to jump in and ask anything at any time. But if you guys have any questions, we'll be glad to open up the floor and let you go at it.
I run a good one for you guys, and I've got kind of an interest in the JBS website, and wait a minute.
Hey Brian, how long are you gonna let him talk like that? I can't hear one word he said.
I was waiting for a break. Yeah, your mic.
Glenn, we can't hear you, dude. It sounds like a garbled mess coming in. Turn the box laser off.
It's something else. There's something going on. It's not noise. It's just garbled, like your microphone's like got wet or something. Yeah, that's weird. It's like you got a piece of aluminum foil over the mic. Yeah, it's terrible. You may have to, there's some instructions somewhere to call in if you want to. You could use the phone. Yeah, it sounds like something's loose or rattling in your mic or something, some distortion or something. Is that a phone?
No, it's a phone that I got from Amazon.
You might have to do a gravity reset on it. Just let it hit the floor a couple times. No, I think it's about the same.
Try leaving and coming back in, but unplug and replug your webcam of yours. In the meantime, we'll have somebody else ask questions.
You just said leave and don't come back in?
No, man, I wasn't that nice. I mean, excuse me, bad. That was that. Oh, Glenn, speak again.
Any better?
Oh my God, I can hear him. Thank God. Welcome back to Earth.
It must have been the gravity reset. Okay, so here you go. So, cups. I'd love to be able to do an image all the way down. Thoughts?
Yes.
I haven't done one of those. That looks like too much of a challenge for my brain. You'd have to. Typically, they break the artwork up, but if it's one continuous piece of art, then that's going to be hard to stitch together. If you're talking about where it drops for the bottom there and it's so far out of focus, I don't think a 4-inch lens would give you enough depth of field to even accomplish that. Yeah, I don't know. Have you tried it? Being out of focus a little bit?
Not yet. I got a few cups to do for this weekend for somebody, and but I told him I wasn't doing that right away. So I've got to get a bunch of cups done first. But yeah, I'm the practice. I'm just gonna kind of play with it. But somebody actually on the JDS website answered he had a cup that was designed top to bottom with Jack Daniel's stuff, and it looked. I mean, wow, it looked really good. Um,
Mhm.
he did something where he took the shape of the cup and made a box exactly the same size as the shape of the cup. Um, he said he had some type of CAD program from another thing that he was doing, and that program would take whatever image you had and basically skew it
Yeah.
to that size. But basically, he had to flip it. So he said basically the top was the small part of the image on his computer, and the bottom was actually the big part, which sounded really weird to me. He said I mean, his cup looked like $1 million. So I mean,
Mhm.
I'm sure he's telling me what's going on. I just didn't quite understand why you would have the top part of the cup, where's the widest part of the cup, as the smallest part of your image.
Actually makes sense.
Does
Physics. Yeah, it makes sense. But I'm still impressed. Is that like a half an inch drop from the top to the bottom?
Probably,
Because
yeah.
that's a hell of a
Yeah,
lens he's using to do
That's
that
a
much.
pretty big difference. I mean,
yeah,
if you adjust your image to conform to that, I can see that, but still you got a focal issue unless you do it in two pieces.
yeah,
Unless you're that maybe what he's doing is taking up for that focal distance difference because you're probably going to be, all your lines are going to be wider,
yeah.
Hey,
fatter.
Glenn,
So maybe that's what he did, to make it stitch together right, to make it look right over that hump.
Uh-huh.
Glenn, I would ask him what lens he's using too. 'Cause I'd be curious too. Is it something in between 2 and 4?
Right. Yeah, that's a
They,
good question.
they
Yeah.
make like a 6 or an 8, I think. I don't know what kind of detail you'd get out of it.
Or
Yeah,
he's got
he's
that new
really good.
Thunder prototype that auto adjusts the height automatically.
I want,
Um,
I'll search for it on here, the image, and see if I can't show it to you on the, which I think I'll be able to. So I'll search for it on here and show you his image. It is pretty amazing. But
um,
He,
yeah,
what?
I'll let somebody else ask a question. I didn't think it was something that was going to be very easy to do. And when I on his stuff, he did do it in two separate parts.
Yeah,
But so he said he did the top part and then he did the bottom part.
yeah,
But he said that image had to be skewed in order for it to be the same image all the way
right.
down. And um, he said for the taper part right here, he said he basically took and split the difference in the focal length.
Hmm.
But
I
yeah, he
got
may
you.
be using like a 4 inch or something. I have to ask him what he's
Okay, so
using.
it was still a two-part process because, well, I don't know why he need to adjust, or I don't know why he would have to find a happy medium for focus if he did it in two pieces where he did the bottom and then did the top. I don't know
Well,
that you needed.
you'll see what I mean. He actually lasered on this taper part too.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's crazy. I want to
Mhm.
see that.
Yeah,
Michelle,
before we get too far,
yeah,
I
go ahead.
got a question. So was it a continuous piece of art, or was it like lines of text that's broken up to where? Because I don't know how you would meld the two raster and grave files at the join line, but if it's like lines of text where you got a buffer space, it's probably not hard. And then the part on the slope, you just make it a little bit taller, and it probably showed up pretty nice. But in the shrink wrap world, if you go buy like a bundle of Coca-Cola or water that's on shrink wrap, those graphics get shrunk unevenly, but they figure out through computer programs how to make it happen from the flat roll, like a roll of toilet paper, into the shrink bundle that you buy. So I'm wondering if he's using something like that to get it done. But it sounds
yeah.
pretty complex.
I'm gonna find a picture for you, I'll show you all in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll let somebody else ask a question, and that way y'all can keep rolling with the.
Yeah. Michelle was asking if there was a benefit or what the pros and cons are to going venting through the roof versus through the wall. And I don't know. I prefer the wall because I don't like the idea of cutting a hole in my roof, just because, and there's less stuff to go through, less distance and less things, but I don't know that it really matters at the end of the day. Glenn found it.
Yeah. So it's split graphics. It's not continuous, but that
Yeah.
does look good.
Yeah, that does look good. He just got it all scaled right, I think, is really what that boiled down to in a real convoluted way. Probably a good way to do it. Like he's probably using something like Chris was talking about, to get it all to look right. But yeah, something like that, it still looks like he applied the graphics in two different processes for each.
Glenn, can you put the link to that in the chat?
And that didn't look like a JDS cup that he did it on, even though that's what you got in your hand. Is that correct? You're muted.
You're muted. You were on mute, Glenn.
Glenn's still talking away, so we have to let him wait for a few seconds before he unmutes himself.
The cup I have is a JDS, but the cup he has is not a JDS.
Okay. That'll help
But it has
tremendously.
the same taper. It's a typical 30-ounce tumbler is what he has there. I'm not quite sure how to link a Facebook post in the chat.
You can copy the URL and paste it in.
You do share and then share external, and you'll put your link in if you're on your phone.
Okay, let's see.
Hey, another question. While that's coming through, if you guys are done talking about the roof versus side, when you do pictures on slate and granite, I've seen memorials and stuff where it has like an oval and it has the shading behind the person, kind of like a memorial type thing, and then it kind of fades out. Now, the only thing I can think is doing something like a grayscale, but does anyone have any tips on anything that might assist?
Yeah, that probably will have to be done in Photoshop or something like that. I know, and I use Fireworks a lot, and there's filters for that where it'll do that around the outside and fade it out automatically, and you can add shadows and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I think that would probably have to be done pre-processed before you pull it into Lightburn.
Okay. Well, I assumed that to be the case as well, but I wasn't sure if anyone had actually, said, hey, yeah, in Photoshop, here's what I do, or in GIMP or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't actually done it. I mean, I've done it in some print stuff. I don't remember exactly how I did it. A lot of those things have where you can put a frame and stuff around images and turn them into ovals and stuff like that, like automatically. You just click a button and it does it. But I guess that would depend on whatever vector or raster editor you were using to do it with.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. And yeah, so we're in the chat. We're chatting about the vent, the roof thing. And I'll put the articles that I have on venting in there so that you guys can have the links if you need them. Let's see. I think we had one about the roof. That might have been how she saw that. I don't remember. Oh, I guess it's in that article. Did I add it? Yeah, it's in the same article. So, actually I sent that just to Chris. Let me send it to everyone. I don't know if you've seen that one. So, all right. Well, does anybody else have any questions? We can still tinker around in the chat on that one for Michelle, but if anybody else has any questions or comments, feel free to pop in. Looks like we got a few new people in there, so don't be scared. Just kick on your mic and go for it.
Hey, Brian, this is Ken.
Hey, man.
Quick question. I've got, Rebecca sent me the keys to Lightburn, but I already have Lightburn. I guess the
Mhm.
question is how long are those keys valid before they become obsolete? Or
They're good for 365 days. They're good for a year.
from the time she sent it, or from the time you activate it?
From the time you activate it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it would need to be activated. Yeah, I don't know if there's an expiration. I'm not sure about that part. I'll have to check with Oz and see about that.
I recall there was a time limit, Brian. So yeah, make sure you confirm that.
Yeah, because I think I do remember something where they just won't last forever. I mean, if you get it, you need to use it. You've already got a DSP version key.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it. I bought it in December, and for a different laser, and I've been using it. And then I saw that she sent me the keys for the Thunder, but I haven't activated them, so I didn't know how long before those would expire.
Gotcha.
Hey, Ken, send an email to them. Just tell them here's the version here's the license you have. Here's the new one you got, and see if you can combine it. They might actually extend your time period for support.
Yeah,
Okay.
that actually might be the best idea, is just email support at lightburnsoftware.com and ask them about it. And I'm sure they'll work with you. They'll figure something out maybe, and at least they'll have an answer on that for sure. But I do remember now that also mentioned that there was one case a long time ago where I think it finally expired because somebody didn't use it. It doesn't technically get active until it's in the system. But I think they can tell how long it's been since they issued it. Of course, we get ours in bulk, so I don't think that's necessarily a problem. But I'd get the official word from them. That'd probably be best.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, JDS Laser Group. I tried to join them and they wouldn't let me because I had Thunder Laser all over my profile stuff for some reason.
No, it's because you got to have an account with them. Do you have an account with them?
No, that's what it is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
you have to have a wholesale account with them.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't make anything, so I don't have an account with them. I buy my cups on Amazon that I test with. So
Yeah, no need to.
yeah. Well, I can't get in their group though. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
sign up just to get in the group. So.
Yeah, just you could probably have actually Thunder do it because they'll have all their tax IDs and all that stuff unless you have all that.
Yeah, that might be an idea.
Yeah, because
I've got it, but I probably would never use them. But it may not be a bad idea to be signed up for that.
well, if you have a simple sales and use tax ID from your state, I believe that's really their main criteria is that you have that.
I'll check on that. I tried it once and I just gave up because I didn't want to bother. So. All right. Well, if anybody else has anything, feel free to jump in. There's got to be somebody with some questions out there. I don't have a backup again, as usual.
Excuse me, Brian.
Hey, man.
I just ordered a Nova 24 about
Okay.
2 weeks ago or so,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna have this in my garage, and I don't want to vent it outside, so I want to get a film extractor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know which one do you suggest, or is there any good ones out there?
Well, we have a line of them, and we've got some documentation on it. Let me see if I can find my controls here for the rest of my stuff. Let me pull up my screen if I can get it. And I think we have, let's see. I'll put a link to this in the chat also.
Okay.
Specifications. And For the Nova 24, they recommended the 480 XP. But you could get a BOFA. You know, that's one of the really well-known ones. I mean, they're all basically just containers for filters, you know, with some sensors in there, you know. So
Right.
as far as
And
quality goes, yeah, go ahead.
I've used the Filmex. It's called FUMEX. It's
Fumex.
yeah, it's an industrial one. We use it at my job for lasers, but they just laser a little code on the bottom of beer cartons and stuff.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I mean, you don't smell anything burning.
Right. Right. Fumex is a good brand also. They're very, very popular. And, you know, the price difference between all of these, I don't know how much the difference is. I haven't priced them really. But if you've been around a Fumex and you trust it and you've seen one in action, I mean, it would make logical sense to go with that one. You just want to look at, you know, the kind of airflow it can support, which I would assume this one's around 480. I think I've got spec sheets. Dimensions. Does it show I don't have it in here. Let's see. Yeah, I'll have to find the specs on what kind of flow that thing's getting, but I know it's it's mentioned somewhere. Ben, that's a small one, so it wouldn't take a huge one. It wouldn't take the biggest one you could find, that's for sure.
Oh, okay. Because I was concerned with the size, and I know there's a lot of ones. I order a lot of stuff from Alibaba anyway, and I've noticed there's about 25 or so brands, and they look similar to that one. But you can never know about the, you know,
right,
how they work unless.
Yeah, I know for sure, you know, and we have these units out and they perform fine from what we understand. You know, but I know for sure the Fumex and BOFA are both, you know, really, really good units. You definitely wouldn't go wrong choosing either one of those. Or probably this one.
I can get a BOFA right on Amazon for about 1,800.
Yeah.
And you know, that's like 5 days they can have it to me. So
yeah. Now your fan that comes with your machine will put out about 300 cubic feet per minute. So,
right. That looks like a good fan there.
It's
really good that you guys supply it with the laser, you know, because you know, like Glowforge and them, they don't supply that. So it's good.
Yeah, it's a decent fan, and it's not very loud. Most people don't replace these. You know, you'll see everybody with the big green centrifugal fan, which is that one. They replace those, and I have too, just because they're loud, not because of the performance, because these things move 482 CFMs. You know, they're pretty powerful. They're way substantial enough for most anything. But the noise level is really the main reason. But those small fans are already, they're not ultra quiet, but they're, you know, inline axial fans, and they're already quiet enough that most people just keep them. They don't even bother replacing them later on.
So with the BOFA, would I have to use that as well?
I would, yeah. You'll want to feed it with that. I believe there may be a little internal fan, but most people force induced their exhaust into there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, I will say, you know, if you're doing little stuff, the people that are burning, you know, the normal kind of things that people are doing on these lasers, there is quite a bit of maintenance on that thing, and the filters aren't super cheap. So
I know that, but a lot of people don't know that there's like 3 filters. The charcoal filter, I know we almost never change the charcoal filter, and we basically always change the pre-filter. So what we generally do is have 2 of them. And when one gets dirty, we'll rip that one out, put a clean one in, and then take and pressure wash the dirty one. Then let it It dries like overnight, and then it's ready for the next time we need it. And we change
Sure.
them about every 14 days or so.
Gotcha. Yeah, if you're already well versed in handling a fume extractor, you won't have any problems. You're already familiar
Yeah,
with them.
yeah. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize you can use them over again and to a certain extent. Then we
Mhm.
won't even throw ours away. And yeah, you're right. They're about $300 a pop.
Yeah.
You know. Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I
yeah,
think the carbon filter is extra on some of these. I think you get the gas filter and the pre-filter. I'm not real sure about the carbon filter. I don't know if it comes with those or not. I'll have to look.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that's the
Let,
main component of it. I would think it would.
let me um there's the pre-filter, and I think the gas filtration isn't that the
The carbon filter, right?
carbon?
That would be
Okay,
on
so it does. So
the bottom. Yeah.
it's got a paper element, and then the pre-filter and the carbon filter. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
it is.
Cool.
It's doing.
Cool.
And this is on the
Cool.
500 series, but they all should be similar. And I couldn't
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
any
Sure.
documentation on that small one, but I know that whatever it's like, this one will show, the pressure, and the flow and everything. So if
Oh,
I could find the other one, I'll try to find that and see if I can get you more information on our other units as well.
okay.
But still, if I had been around a BOFA, around a Fumex and been using it, and seen it in action, I'd probably be more likely just to get a Fumex, just because,
I
I've
know
seen it
about
in
it.
action. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
true. That's true. And BOFA gets a lot of good reviews as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's between the Filmex or the BOFA.
yeah. And I'd say it'd probably be a flip of the coin. I'd say they're both pretty
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
units. So I think they're
But
pretty much the
I
industry
wish I
standards.
could hear from some other people who have one or the other or something else.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's not very many of those out there. I think
Yeah,
we've only got two in the field.
right outside. Is
Yeah,
that right? Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Okay,
So
great,
the
great. I
information
can't
I
wait
have
to
on
get
them
mine.
is very limited. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great, great. I'm ready to get it. My 24. I'm a convert from Glowforge. I was about to get. I had one ordered,
hmm
and they sort of dicked me around with delivering. When the delivery date came, then they started giving me all excuses why it wasn't going to be delivered.
hmm
They done that 3 times. I said, you know what? Give me all my $6,000 back.
yeah,
And they did. They gave it back, no problem. And 2 days later, I ordered my 24.
hmm
And it's a lot better machine, bigger.
oh yeah,
It's industrial, okay?
it is. It really is.
So
So you're,
I'm really happy. I can't wait to get it.
yeah, you're going to be super pleased. So
Yeah.
the
Thanks, guys.
anticipation is tough.
Oh, it is, man. It is. And the thing is, I thought I would have a problem with light burn, but they gave me my key and plus a 30-day trial.
hmm
And yeah, man, that's a piece of cake. I already use Illustrator,
Okay.
and man, light burn is like it's
It's
simple.
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, so thanks,
Uh,
guys.
so all right. Chris, you want me to talk about the Aurora for a minute?
I mean, if there's anything to talk about, right?
Yeah, so our fiber laser is approved, and they're getting, I think, 20 machines ready, the 20-watt machines, and are going to get them on a container headed this way. And they're talking about having an initial deal, kind of like they did with Odin. They had the first 20. You get $1,000 off on Odin. They were running that kind of deal and they don't do that very often. It's just on a new launch usually. So they're going to have some sort of incentive, for being the first couple of people to try our new laser. And as soon as I get some firm dates and information and all of that stuff, we'll start pumping that out. We've got there's probably about 70 people on that waiting list or on the notification list that are signed up so far. So as soon as I get something concrete, I'll push it out. Believe me, it'll be everywhere. I'll put it all over the place. So hopefully that's coming soon.
I have a question.
Sure, absolutely.
It's on my ThunderCam. First of all,
Okay.
let me say I'm brand new to all of this. I just got my 24 last week,
Okay.
and I got a ThunderCam, and I've got it hooked up. Initially, it seemed to be working. I'm still having some calibration issues, which I had had a brief discussion with you on Facebook about it. But now I don't even get a picture, and I'm using the USB. I've connected to that USB cable where you unplug it from the rated controller
Right.
and use the adapter. I've done that. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. It's just, I don't know if it's something with the camera or.
Gotcha. It might be best if we actually set up a remote session for you.
Yeah, that's what I was
So that
wondering.
so that we can jump in and have a look. Probably the best way is just, if you just email support@thunderlaserusa.com, that'll generate a support ticket. And then we can jump in there and help you out. And we may need to jump in there and have a look and see what's going on. Every once in a while, those little extension cables that go from the controller to the outside of the unit, sometimes they can fail. And that could be it, but typically you can find out just by plugging the camera directly into the computer and not going through the laser wiring, little interface that we have there. So
Yeah, I've done that.
and you're still not getting anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Is that a Windows or a Mac?
Windows.
Okay. We might try the Windows video engine instead of the custom one too. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just shoot a quick email to support@thunderlaserusa.com and we'll get a remote session set up. We'll jump in there and help you out and see if we can get it figured out.
Typically, how long do they take to respond to those? Because I did one of those yesterday.
Did you send it to USA?
Let me look. Well, typically we can respond to the initial email in about 6 minutes. So, I see a 1 hour. Okay, I see a new user training set for
tomorrow,
and I don't see a ticket about the. Let's see. I don't see a ticket about the ThunderCam issue specifically. So unless that's what that was for.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll submit another one.
Yeah, just pop another one in there and just put ThunderCam in the subject line. That's all you got to do. And then we'll get right back with you pretty quick and we'll jump in there and have a look. So
if you've got antivirus software, sometimes that will put the camera system down, shut it down where it's not accessible to Lightburn or even Windows.
Okay.
Yep, that'll do it. The USB power saving and security that Microsoft does in their USB stuff it always causes all kinds of problems. That's one of the reasons that Jason wrote that custom video capture engine in Lightburn, because using the Windows one became so unreliable because they changed something every time they do an update, and he got tired of fighting it, so he just rewrote the whole thing and made his own. But yeah, definitely antivirus stuff, any kind of thing like that can affect it, because they consider that camera as a webcam, so they consider it a security threat.
Initially, I did get initially it was working. And then somewhere in the process of, rerouting the cable, the way you do, and getting everything tied down, it just quit working.
Okay.
Check the little connector at the camera. There's a little 4-pin white connector. Make sure that's fully seated. Because it doesn't to pull that thing out. Like if you're zip tying, putting those little zip ties, sticky feet, double check that connection.
Yeah. Okay.
And you didn't use anything to lengthen it any more than what came with
No.
it, did you? Okay, all right,
No.
because the length of that USB cable is already pushing it, especially with extra terminations in there with the adapters. Every time you have a termination or a connection point, and stuff like that, you get a lot of loss, especially with the length and stuff. So, but yeah, we'll jump in there and see if we can get you figured out. It's shouldn't be too bad if
Okay.
it was working. Hopefully it'll just be
Do you have many camera failures?
not really. I've replaced 2 in the past 2 years.
Okay.
So I
So you
mean,
think it's probably
stuff.
more like a cable issue or
Yeah, I
something
think
like
it's
that?
probably a bad cable or a bad connection or something like that. So maybe some noise it's picking up because the way the routing or something like that. Or it could be something on your computer as far as an update or an antivirus thing. But we've got some diagnostic tools to go through that pretty quick. So.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll be watching for your ticket. So, yeah.
I think I'm going to leave and go get that ticket done now.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be great. Chris and I fight over them, so so we try to get to everybody as quickly as we can.
Okay. Thanks. We'll be talking to you tomorrow.
Sure, absolutely. All right. Well, looks like a few other people have popped in. If you guys have a question, feel free to just jump right in, and we'll be glad to help any way we can.
Brian and Chris, I thought my machine had made it to Texas, but evidently it did not leave out till Monday. That's 3 weeks later.
Really?
But anyway, I sent an email forward about checking it out, and the shipper, once he gets the tracking ticket, he pretty well backed out, and that was a mistake that I would suggest that he need to follow up on, and he did. He called me back, but he tried to BS me just a tad about he was doing this, and he didn't call back in a few minutes. But since I sent the email to everybody, he's jumped on board. But the terminal people, I was finding more information myself. But for future reference, since it's coming so far, I would suggest that you check with whoever the freight is every day, and you can find out. But they thought it had arrived in North Carolina when it hadn't left California yet.
Gotcha. See, after we pass those off to the carrier, we like to entrust them to do it because that's what they're there for. But it seems that our version of what the logistics ought to look like and what it actually looks like are 2 different things. And we are looking into that. We realize that that's been a problem, and I still don't understand because you've probably heard me say it before. Before all of these few little problems for years, they didn't have any problems at all. So, and we're trying to look at whatever ways we can to help streamline that. But we're picking from the same crew of logistics professionals that everybody else has to use. So we don't have any tricks up our sleeve as far as that goes. But that is something we're investigating. That's on our mind, and we're checking some stuff on it. So,
I guess in that regards, how do we know that this thing's coming? Because I've seen some posts where some people have ordered like the same day I have, and they've already got theirs, and I haven't heard anything or seen anything, so I didn't know if there's an email or.
Yeah, so whatever tracking information we get from the carriers after it's been negotiated, or all of that stuff has been taken care of by our logistics team, they're supposed to give us updates when they get them on all of these orders, and then we forward that information on. So we're getting that information kind of secondhand from our logistics people too. So a lot of times they don't give it to us. Then we have to end up calling, because then that's just the way that goes now. And historically, there for a long time, they really had their stuff together, and they were getting machines out 2 weeks early. And that's when you'd start seeing a bunch of people saying, I got no notice, they just showed up at my door. And I don't have a good answer for that. I don't know how to make the logistics people do what I think they ought to be doing without having to hound them and haggle with them and fight and holler and email. I don't, it shouldn't be that hard. Um,
Have you got a tracking number yet, Ken?
No, I haven't gotten anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as
That's
far
why
as and I wrote a little thing about on a post the other day. I saw somebody say that they both had the same model, a 35 or a 51, and ordered about the same time or within a month of each other, but there was 2 months difference or a month and a half difference in when it was going to be delivered. Or somebody got a 24 that ordered before somebody that got a 51, and they got their 51 first. And the way that works is, and from the very beginning, from the very first machines that Thunder USA ever got, we said, hey, we need a container with X amount of Nova 63s and X amount of Nova 24s and whatever would fit in the container and whatever we thought we could need. And then we kept ordering containers. So if somebody orders a Nova 35 on Monday at 3 o'clock, and that was the last one on container number 23, and the container comes out about every 2.5 weeks, then the next person that calls, even if they call 5 minutes later, they might get their Nova 35 3 weeks or 4 weeks later than the person that called 5 minutes before, just because those are all accounted for. So you can't go by he got his machine first or I ordered first, or none of that works, because we actually pre-order all of these machines. We just can't keep pre-order them fast enough to keep up with all the new ones that come in. So we put your name down in the order for the machine, the closest one always, and then we just have to hope for the best. So that's kind of the way that works, and it typically works fine if we could just get notices and a little bit more information about the transaction after it's in process. That's really where the problem is, and I'm not real sure how to rectify that, but we're looking at it. So.
Yeah, I was just curious because I hadn't seen or heard anything, and to that point, I really didn't want a truck showing up at my door and I'm not here, and then they go, "Hey, we tried to deliver it and nobody was there,"
and that
then
does
you got to
happen.
chase that thing.
Yeah, and that does happen, and and there's not a whole lot if the carrier doesn't let us know that they're coming, or they don't let we're coming. There's not a whole lot we can do about it,
Yeah.
So
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thunder knows that machine's been picked up though by the logistics company.
Thunder knows. Well, all of our machines go to our third-party warehouse, and that's who our logistics partner is. They all go to LA, and our logistics company handles everything. We never touch the machines. We never see them. So they're in our facility in California, and the third-party logistics company, from the time they come off the ship until they go to somebody's door, that's ATA and whoever, which we always ask for UPS freight. And now if they farm it off to Roadrunner or, Billy Joe's moving service, I can't really help that. We don't have any control over that once, and again, like I said, we're looking at our logistics people and looking to see what we can do to help streamline that. But honestly, it's no different than if you ordered something. We have to deal with them like we're a customer, because we are. So we don't have any pull with these logistics people. So I don't know if that directly answered your question, but once we say, hey, we want you to deliver these machines, they're supposed to deliver the machines. So we don't have any interaction other than that. And like I said, they're supposed to tell us tracking information on these, and whatever they do tell us, we do pass it along. But sometimes they just don't give it to us, and that's one of the things that we're working on.
What about the cameras shipping from Thunder directly?
So the lasers come as kits. So the machine and all the accessories, as far as the blower and the chiller and the toolbox and all of that stuff, comes in the crate. Anything else you get, the rotary or the camera or any of our lenses or any of that stuff, is going to come from the United States, and they'll be separate. And just because you get your rotary, that doesn't mean that your laser is going to be there 2 days later, 2 weeks later either. It's totally random. We have our rotary manufacturer drop ship the rotaries to the clients. So that just depends on his workflow. You know, we put the order in for the rotary as soon as you order it, and then he gets it out to you as quick as he can. So that's how the rotaries and the accessories work. The accessories come out of Texas. The rotaries come out of Florida.
Are the cameras in stock?
The cameras, I'm not sure if they're in stock or not. Lightburn has some more on the way, and we've put our order in. I think we may have a few, but there's a chip famine, and that's affecting getting the cameras. Lightburn's been out too, and so we've got our next order placed with them, and I think they passed customs, so it shouldn't be too much longer. You'd have to check with sales on that though, because I don't keep up. I'm in Tennessee in the support lab, so I've got things like motors and switches and controllers and things like that. I don't carry any of that accessory stuff, not the retail type accessory stuff.
So could there be weeks in time difference from the time I get my machine to the time I get my camera?
Oh yeah, if you order your camera, they'll send it on out to you, but you still may have to wait 2 or 3 weeks or a month for your machine, depending on how that works.
Well, I ordered them both at the same time.
Well, the camera comes from Texas and the machine comes from China, so there's going to be a little bit of difference. When you place your order, they'll get the,
I'll say I got my rotary like a month and a half before I got my machine, and I decided to upgrade my rotary. So I sent my rotary back, and he sent me the new rotary before my machine came. It's because, like you said, it comes here in the United States, and if Jason's got them in stock, or if he's real close to having it shipped out, he's just going to ship it out as soon as you
right. Right. So yeah, if you order a rotary and an extra lens and a laser, as soon as you pay for that stuff, you're going to get your lens from Texas, which takes a couple of days, and you'll get your rotary, depending on whether it's built or not, you know, depending on where that is. But usually that's no more than 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, something like that. And since they're ordered at the same time, you usually get your rotary before you get the machine. So there's usually not a delay there, but the machine usually comes last. And
I would recommend you call and talk to your sales rep. I ordered my machine in December, paid for it, right up front, and I got my notice yesterday. Yesterday that the machine was in the States, and I had to call Rebecca, and she just sent my spare lens out yesterday. It didn't get shipped out when I paid for everything in December. So she just sent that out yesterday. So I reminding your sales rep to make sure it goes out.
Yeah, and honestly, that may be a good thing, because I'm not in that department. I have no idea what goes over there, so maybe I shouldn't be answering questions for them. But yeah, the sales team could give you a better idea on how they handle that. I'm not sure. The way we used to handle it was, if you ordered something, we'd put the orders in, and when they'd get to you, they'd get to you. So usually, like I said, something out of Texas is a couple of days, and the rotary is usually a week or two. So but that depends on what they're doing. I don't know what systems they have in place now, because we've implemented some new enterprise level systems to help manage this stuff. So they may have some other things going on there.
Hey, Brian, just a quick question, different topic. The duct that comes out the back of the machine, is that a 4-inch?
No,
duct?
it's actually 5.7, but use 6-inch standard stuff.
Okay. All right, because I ordered the 8-inch inline, and I couldn't remember if that was a 4-inch or 6-inch that was coming out of the back of the machine.
All of the hoses and stuff that come with the machine are 6-inch, so you'll have to get some 6 to 8-inch adapters to, or at least one. But yeah, most of the standard stuff is 6.
Okay, thanks.
Brian, question on the exhaust.
Yes.
Somebody made a comment somewhere. I wish I had taken a snapshot to show it to you. They said that exhausting from the top is better than the back exhaust. What's your thought on that?
Well, it's not a back exhaust. We've got actually a downdraft, if you think about it, most of the time, unless you're cutting something big. And I kind of agree with that in kind of a way, because if you have a top exhaust, it's not going to pull the smoke along your work around to the bottom again. Because you know what I mean? I can see how it might not deposit quite as much stuff on the surface of the material when you're engraving.
Makes sense.
But you know how people have had good luck fanning their air underneath, using the little metal tube, or how some people do. I think how Sean does it, where you just put in. And I think we've looked at some of that stuff. I can see how that would help, because that would keep it from flowing right across the material, I think, or maybe it would disturb it enough where it would not. It seems to do better, but I can kind of see that in a way, because if you have a piece of material in there and you're burning lots of smoke, it's going to be pulling it down around the edges. So it could even collect around the edge, because it's pulling it down instead of away from it, from up above. Think about a CO2 fiber, a galvo laser. They just have a hose, a vacuum hose kind of over there near it, and it's usually above it, and there's no deposit left on that material. There's no soot left over.
Cool. Well,
So
fair enough.
there may be something to that.
Yeah, but I think you got the louvers in that front door, so you almost get like the louvers are right at the autofocus height, so you get that airflow across the piece and then down.
Like an air curtain almost.
Yeah. And I don't know how it would work if you were exhausting out the top. It's almost like it would shortchange the backside or something. You almost need it to go across the top and down to clear the whole area.
Yeah, I like the exhaust in the Thunder, actually. I like the downdraft exhaust. I can put a piece of cloth on there and it'll actually act as a little bit of a vacuum table.
Okay. No, the only reason I ask on that also is because one day I was burning a lot, and I think I had my air pressure low, or the fan was not on full, and I could smell the stuff coming out from the side little fans. It was like crud.
So one of the biggest things to remember about airflow is air in has got to equal air out. So if you're trying to vent from your home or a room that is enclosed and you're venting to the outside, you've got to have a balance of makeup air coming back in, else you're creating a vacuum inside that space. So, crack a separate window open, crack a door open, you got to let that air back in. Now, depending on when your house is built, it may be, airtight. If it's, 70s, you may have some nice air around the windows and doors and stuff that allow that makeup air. And then also check your exhaust fan, cover where the inlet is, make sure that's not blocked up. But you got them air in, air out. So I always open up a door, my garage door, and let as much air in so that that air can then go out. If that makes sense.
Why do I keep replying just to private? Sorry, I was trying to send something to the.
Stop clicking on their name.
Well, is that gonna work now? It did something weird. You'll have to take out those. There's a link. Let me redo the link. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. I kind of got sidetracked here.
Thanks. Now we have no idea what we're talking about. I'm gonna have to start all over again, Chris. Freaking old mind of mine can't keep up. If I can only remember to take my memory pills.
Right. The weight loss pills you're supposed to eat with the food, right?
If I remember to take them with the food.
So it was asked on the chat, when is the best time to set up the hour of training, or when does that needs to be scheduled? And typically it's after you get your machine initially set up, and at least get a little bit familiar with it. And that way we can spend more of the time on actually going through some of the stuff that it can do and working in light burn and that kind of thing. But of course, if you run into trouble, you can always either schedule a 30-minute remote session, which just any trouble you have, just email support@thunderlaserusa.com and it'll generate a ticket. And then if we need to remote in, we can always jump in and help you. And that way you're not burning up your hour trying to troubleshoot something. So that way, we can spend some separate time on that if you run into an issue. And that way you can make the full use of your 1 hour. But typically that's after you've at least gotten the machine together and made sure that it's going to power up and you're connected to the machine with the computer. That way we can go in and actually do the crash course. So that's how that works usually.
Brian, I've got a question about the lenses. the lens piece itself,
Mhm.
those are 20 millimeter lenses, correct? Or are
Correct.
they 22?
They're
Okay.
20 millimeter diameter. Mhm.
Right. Now,
Mhm.
is the 2-inch lens the same as the 4-inch lens, just in a different tube, or is it got a different curvature to it?
It does. The focal, the when we say 2-inch or 4-inch or 6-inch, that's the actual focal length of that lens. So they are different optics. They do have different focal lengths. And then they're in a special, they're just in our housings, and we've adapted those so that we can have those 6 millimeter and 10 millimeter, focal standards, as a reference point for the nozzle. But they are absolutely different lenses. And in the HR head, there are two optics, and they look identical. And I know for sure one of them is definitely not a 2-inch or not a 4-inch. I'm not sure what it is. But if you get those backwards, you're going to have some trouble. So if you ever disassemble an HR head, you need to be sure you keep track of which lens goes where, because they are not the same, even though they look like it. And that's been something that's happened a few times, is they get put back in the wrong spot and then it's all out of whack. So on the single element lens, lens tubes, the heads, you don't have to worry about that. There's only one optic in it, but in that HR, there's two. So.
All right, and then I also had another question, and I think Glenn was talking about this last week or the week before about the filter box.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in an apartment now, I was thinking about going ahead and I went ahead and bought the 8-inch or the S8 fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about building a filter box before it leaves the window. Is there a drawings anywhere, or do you have drawings, Glenn, on the one that you built that I can look at and get an idea of what I need to do?
I don't really have drawings. I mean, I don't mind to take plenty of pictures and show you some measurements and stuff like that if you want to, contact me. I have no problem doing that. But keep in mind, if you're trying to do it for fumes, it's not a fume extractor. Like, if the wind's blowing right, my wife's out on the porch and I'm blasting off these cups over here, she smells it. The smell still comes out. It's not a fume extractor. It's just going to get all the particles and all that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, that's primarily what I'm wanting. I mean, I'm not worried about the fumes as much, because where my apartment is located, it's actually facing the road, so there's no one walking or anything back there. It's mainly for the particles that I don't, put smoke marks on the side of the building and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I'll definitely. If you want to give me contact me. Let me see. Give me a second. I'll be back. Or actually, only a few. You only got a few minutes left of this, aren't we? As I may. I don't know how I'd get them on the computer quick enough to get this.
Hey, Glenn, I've got a list of everybody that signed in. If they put their email address here, if he doesn't mind, I'll just shoot you his email address when this is over, because I've got a list, and that way you could just shoot him an email back if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Hardeep here again from Canada. Sorry, sorry I had to jump off the other day. Thursday at 4 o'clock is a bad time for me. But I listened to the video, but I didn't get the answer. The gentleman was kind enough to look for the dimensions of the inline fan for the 24.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, you said that you would send it to me in an email, but I guess you forgot.
Yeah,
Could you get that for me?
And actually I can do that now, because I actually have a fan here. I didn't have one before, but I have one that I can actually measure and physically put my hands on. So let me make sure that I've got your, do I have your information in here too?
I think you do, yeah.
It should show everything. Yep, I do have it. I'll send you that here in just a few minutes, along with a picture.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure. So, yeah, I remember that now. Let me see. I've got a note about it. Got it. Okay, and then I'll get Glenn. I'll send you Gene's. Let me find it real quick. Okay, I'm just now figuring out how to use this.
If it's easier, Brian, I could just stick it on the chat real quick.
Huh?
Then
I think I just
That's
found you
fine.
on
Go ahead.
Facebook too, Glenn.
What's that?
I said I think I just found you on Facebook too. You're
Okay.
Creative Laser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was you.
Got it. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing on Glenn. It's not showing a place to copy your email address. It would let me on the other one. Anyway, okay. So you guys found each other.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, just shoot me a PM.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, I guess I'm going to jump off here and measure this fan so I can get him that information. I won't forget this time, I promise. I'm sorry about that. And I guess we'll, does anybody else have any questions real quick? I've got maybe another minute or two. If not, I guess we'll catch you guys next week, and I'll send you that email here shortly on the fan stuff. Chris, you got anything?
Nope.
Right. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
Have a good.
Thanks, Glenn. See ya.